Estamos de volta.
Aê. Estamos de volta, é isso aí. Aqui a gente faz ao vivo. A gente já mudou todo o setup aqui, ó. Botamos uma mesinha para o Cabral desenhar aqui. Vamos receber quadrinistas e você tá com o Mickey aí, né, Cabral?
Tô.
Tudo bem?
Tudo jóia.
Como é que tá sendo a CCXP para você aqui?
Incrível. Tá surreal. É a primeira vez estar aqui em 2018 como visitante e hoje estar aqui com você, com o Léo, tanta gente incrível, tá fazendo esse painel incrível sobre os 85 anos de Batman. Para mim é um sonho realizado.
Massa. Só explicar aqui a presença do Cabral. Aqui no Rabiscando, que é um quadro aqui da Live do Omelete, a gente tem desenhistas convidados que estão fazendo uma arte aqui, com temática aqui de Biz e também do Omelete. Ontem a gente teve o Edu fazendo um desenho com X-Men. E hoje o Cabral vai fazer qual tema?
São os 85 anos de Batman.
85 anos de Batman. O Batman é tão velho assim, Guilherme Jacobs?
Já pode resgatar o FGTS, é isso mesmo, Batman? É, cara.
Ele não precisa do FGTS.
Não precisa. 85 anos de Batman e a gente vai ter uns convidados bem legais para falar sobre a história do personagem nos quadrinhos, todo o arco dele. Não, Léo?
Com certeza. Estou muito animado para ver o que essas lendas que vão vir aqui falar. Enfim, ver o que eles têm a dizer sobre esse personagem.
Pra ver o desenho do nosso amigo aqui, viu? Vai sair uma coisa. Eu estou numa posição estratégica para pegar spoiler aqui.
A gente tem um convidado muito legal esse ano, que é o James Tynion, que ele ele escreveu algumas das HQs mais importantes do Batman desses últimos, desde...
Uns 15 anos aí.
Uns 15 anos, né? Desde 952 2011, não foi
Por aí,
isso?
exatamente.
Nossa, a gente tá velho, tá velho.
Já acabou o 952, começou outro, cara. A gente já tá velho.
Já teve 2 reboots já depois disso.
Já teve
2 reboots.
Inclusive um reboot cancelado. Depois eu conto essa.
Galera, vamos fazer barulho para chamar aqui, olha só. James Tynion, John Romita Jr. e Van Reis. E aí, Ivan?
Opa,
Tudo certo? Tudo bem?
tudo jóia, tudo ótimo.
Ivan já é de casa também, né?
Ah, 10 anos de CCXP.
Guys, welcome. Johnny, welcome back.
It's wonderful to be here. I love this city.
We should get a mug for yourself with your name, for Omelette mug for yourself.
Absolutely. And James, welcome as well. So
Yeah,
good to
it's
have you
great.
with us.
It's so good to be here.
First time in Brazil.
Yeah, and it's been incredible so far.
Have you guys...
How do you like the console far?
It's incredible. Just look at this. This is everyone. I've been hearing for a long time
These are
how
all my
wildly
relatives.
impressive.
These are all my Sicilian relatives.
There we go.
All your What did other comic creators you guys know tell you about Brazil and this Comic-Con?
I mean, they had told me about, like, it was the scale of it. The scale is unbelievable, and the quality of the booths and the experience here is just out of this world. Like, it is. I wish some American conventions would learn from making it this wonderful an experience.
But the quality of the people, the Brazilian people, it goes without saying.
Thank you.
Everyone is smiling all the time.
Yeah.
And it can't be because of my cologne. These are the most wonderful people that we've ever experienced,
We're
as
so
well
glad.
as being a beautiful, magnificent location.
We're so glad to hear this.
Thank you so much.
All right. We heard you talk about Batman because Batman is turning 85.
All right.
It's been a while. It's been a long time. Do you remember the first time that you got in touch with Batman? Was it in comics, on the movies, or TV, the TV series? Do you recall it?
I think for me it would have been, I'm about 37 years old, so it's the first time that I encountered it was actually it was in the ad campaign leading up to Batman Returns. And all of the ads were very scary around all of that. And I was a kid that liked spooky things. So all of the aesthetics around that movie were imprinted on me on a young age. And then I went directly into the animated series and then started picking up random comics before I could even read them. And I would just flip through the pages.
It was amazing. It was real dark. I mean,
yeah.
Penguin and that dark blood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Ivan, you must go next.
Ok. eu acho que pra mim, o que tem na minha memória, que eu tenho de memória, era o Batman 66, do Adam West, e o desenho animado Super Amigos, né? Tava com tudo aquilo. E no meio daquele caldo todo, a gente tinha as ilustrações do Garcia Lopes para as camisetas, para as lancheiras. Eu tinha cueca do desenho do Batman. Então eu acho que esse foi um dos meus primeiros contatos, assim, né? E é engraçado que quando a gente é criança, eu me lembro muito bem, assistindo o Batman do Adam West, a gente não tinha noção da parte cômica da coisa, a gente levava aquilo a sério. Era o Batman, era o Robin, então... E aí veio o Super Amigos, que consolidou tudo isso daí durante a infância. E aí não teve jeito. Na hora que eu estava entrando para a adolescência, já com uma certa... né, veio o Batman do Tim Burton, no final dos anos 80, que foi a Batmania, que foi um negócio que eu acho que eu nunca vi se repetir com nada, que dominou durante o ano em propaganda. E aquilo realmente consolidou na minha cabeça o personagem de uma forma, acho que para a maioria, para muitas pessoas, assim, aquela época. Acho que quem viveu aquela época viveu um negócio que não se repetiu mais. Assim, a Batmania do Michael Keaton, do filme, foi um negócio colossal, assim. Então era impossível a gente não se tornar fã, né? Entrando na adolescência, tendo um Adam West, um Super Amigos como berço, como início, e aí vem Adam West, aí teve Frank Miller no final dos anos 80, e foi uma avalanche, aquilo para te fazer se tornar fã do... Foi surpreendente, esse foi meu contato com o Batman. Assim.
And what about you, Johnny?
Well, I hate to say how old I am, but everything they said, I have experienced. But my first exposure to Batman was when I was just a very young child at a barber shop. There would be a table for the children to wait and read comic books. And before, I hate to say this, before Marvel and Spider-Man and the X-Men were around, I saw Superman and Batman on a table in front of me before I could read well enough. And my father would explain what this was. And then everything they explained, I went through as I grew up. And I laughed at the TV show, and the cartoon was wonderful. And then the film with Michael Keaton, who I thought was wonderful. That's my process the same. But as a child, to see the old beaten-up comic books was my first exposure to a superhero, and it was Batman and Superman.
What was it immediately in the page that drew your attention to the character?
The capes.
Visuals.
The
Yeah.
capes. And interestingly enough, the image of the capes on both characters, but specifically Batman, with the horns, the ears, and the cape, the spike cape, is the best thing about drawing Batman, is the silhouette of this amazing character. Superman, I think, is boring. Batman is spectacular.
And you did both. You did both.
Eu acho
Do
que
you
o
like
Batman,
doing Batman better?
eu acho que o Batman é a silhueta mais poderosa da cultura pop que se tem. Assim. A silhueta do Batman é um negócio muito poderoso.
Tanto que é um
And that's why I
personagem...
enjoy drawing Daredevil. It's distinctive exterior line, you can recognize it immediately. But Batman, every artist, no matter where your loyalty lies, the artists love drawing Batman.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
And
And which Batman story do you most resonated with you guys? Not specifically yourselves stories, but which story resonated with you that made you a fan of this character?
let's make it fun. You can say any story by anyone on stage. Okay?
To me, it's Frank's work that redesigned the character in my image, my mind, and the story itself was as good as his style was so distinctive, and Mazzucchelli's work and so on. That kind of distinguished style with Daredevil, it reinvented the character, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. No, you can't, there's no beating year one in Dark Knight Returns. It says everything about the character in a way that we're still unpacking years and years later. It's just a masterclass in making comics, and it challenges you to want to make comics that are, as good as a 2-page sequence in there. And it's unbelievable. I would say on top of that, for me, it was, I'm a big fan of the extended family around Batman. Coming up in the 90s, like I really associated with the Tim Drake Robin, and because he was my Robin growing up, and it was really in the No Man's Land era, like that you could see all of these different aspects of Gotham City in this deeply fascinating way that made me want to read not just the main Batman book, but every side book in it. And it made me start thinking about Gotham City and the way that you could tell stories, not just like, you can tell incredible singular iconic stories with Batman, but with Gotham City, there's an entire larger array of stories you can tell.
Yeah, what would be Batman without its family and its
Right.
villain? Yeah.
Like, Ivan,
Não, é
Yeah,
a mesma
we-
referência que eles. O Frank, pra mim, também revolucionou tudo. O Cavaleiro das Trevas e o Batman Ano 1 foram coisas que até hoje, como o James falou, nós estamos digerindo ainda isso e acho que é imbatível, né?
But this is not to minimize the wonderful artists prior to that time.
Yeah.
And one of the most challenging things I felt about doing Batman or Superman was the long history prior to getting on these books. How do you ever improve on such genius artists previous? Same thing with every character I did at Marvel. There was always some spectacular, annoying old man that was before me on Spider-Man.
well, we're talking today about 85 years of Batman, so it's inevitable to talk about the change and the arc of the character throughout history. What would you say, and this is a very basic question, I think you've all been asked this before, but I think it's important. What makes the character so durable? What has kept Batman going for 85 years in your mind?
Eu tenho uma teoria. Eu tenho uma teoria que eu acho que é o superpoder do Batman. O Batman
Dinheiro.
envelhece com você. Mas à medida que ele envelhece com você, ele muda. Então, quando você é criança, você descobre um Batman que você se identifica. Você se torna adolescente, você acaba conhecendo um Batman com o qual você se identifica. Você amadurece, se torna um jovem adulto, vai existir um Batman com o qual você se identifica. Você se torna um adulto, vai ter um Batman adulto com o qual você se identifica. O personagem, existe um Batman para cada geração, para cada idade, então ele envelhece com você,
Well said.
ele te acompanha, né, desse processo.
And this is to show the genius of the character. This is the ultimate and the first Revenger family was slaughtered. How many new characters were derivative of Batman? This is the genius of the character. And it's a street level. He has no superheroes.
Yeah.
Superpowers, correct? He's just a very powerful, strong. This is the Punisher. How many Marvel characters are derivative of Batman? And there's no shame in saying that. That's how genius the character is.
Well, and I think that there's this simple idea right at the core of it that is in that avenging quality. It's the fact that I think everyone in the world has had something terrible happen to them at some point in their life. And then you build yourself into a version that prevents that from ever happening to you again. And Batman is that simple idea writ large. It's the idea that you can overcome the worst thing that ever happened to you and not only protect yourself, but protect that from ever happening to someone else again. And I think people it will always speak to people.
I
Well,
mean,
being a billionaire helps too.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's true.
speaking of
Yeah.
being a billionaire, I think that you were writing the Batman recently since for the last 10 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think maybe it seems like a challenge to update the character in a world that people hate billionaires. So is that a challenge?
No, I mean, like in my run, we were able to like hit that on the head a little bit, where he was still a very wealthy man, but when you go back to the old stories, he wasn't like the richest man in the entire world. He was just rich.
Yeah.
So it was the idea that he is still, you know, it's like I knocked him down a few pegs where he was like still doing fine, but it wasn't like I can buy 6 satellites and, you know, build a rocket ship tomorrow. Like it's much more, there were still, you know, because Batman was also always against a corrupt system. And it's just the, you know, and that's the old stories where it was the, you know, the vice and corruption inside of Gotham City that he was weeding out. And you need a level of like, you know, you can't turn Batman into the system. He always has to be fighting against it, even if he is from some of the same things that bred that system.
And I wanted to ask you another question, James, as a writer, because you said today that about you celebrated like his cast of familiar characters, Robin, Batgirl, etc. I mean this with total respect. I told you that how much I loved your work. You had a Batman-Robin kind of relationship with Scott Snyder in DC Comics as he was writing Batman, and you got to write around him and then take over Batman. I would love to know, did you see your relationship with him and that mentorship translate into the work, and if so, how?
Absolutely. I mean, like, this was something that a lot of the people that were coming up under him in Gotham City, we would kind of joke around, like, which of the Bat family we were, you know, like, coming up under him. But, you know, like, as he was my professor in college, and then, you know, I became his writing assistant, and then I started co-writing with him on the backup stories of the New 52 Batman, and then that led into my own original work, and then I helped co-show run the 2 Batman Eternal weeklies, and then took over Detective and then Batman. So it was this, like, you know, it was this road, and it was each time, like, and towards the beginning, it was something that I looked to him for answers and all of that. And then he was very good at letting me go out and make my own mistakes, where it was just like, I, like, believed something strongly, and he's like, I'm not so sure about that, but you should do it. And then it was like, sometimes I was right, and sometimes I wasn't. And it was great to learn all of that, because I started very young in the industry. My first, you know, my first published Batman comic was when I was 24 years old. And so it was, you know, like, it was trial by fire. And I knew that if, like, you know, if I fell on my face in those early days, I would never write a comic again. And this is what I wanted to do for my entire life. So it was something that and Scott's a very driven person, and a very, like, you know, he carries an intensity to him. And it's one of those things that, it forged me. It really helped forge me as a creator. And it's something that, you know, we're still incredibly close. I was chatting with him about, an upcoming arc on Absolute Batman,
which is
earlier.
Amazing, by the way. This new universe you guys kickstarted is so cool.
No, and it's and it's just like it's still so much fun to me, even though, like, you know, right now, like, I finished my run on Batman, but it's like I still have so much love of the world that getting a call and it's like, all right, we're going to talk about reinventing this character for this version of the universe. It's still the most fun in the world having a conversation about a Batman villain for 2 hours in the afternoon. It's the best way to spend a couple hours. Yeah.
And it's funny because people see Batman as a superhero, but when the 89 movie came out, it was seen as a pulp character, because Hollywood did Dick Tracy and did The Shadow, which are basically noir stories. Do you like better the noir stories, the crime stories, or the superhero stuff?
I prefer the street characters. My affinity is towards the real as well as the fantasy. Too much fantasy, I wish I had some reality. So the balance is perfect. And with Batman, even though he does not have superpowers, he has the ability to come up with fun, those toys, those amazing toys. And it's a great character. Great character.
Quando eu tive a chance de trabalhar com o Batman, eu nunca encarei ele como um super-herói ou um personagem detetive noir. Eu sempre vi como o Tim Burton, porque foi muito forte para mim aquilo, que era um conto. Ele é um conto, né? Ele é um universo que não existe, é uma fantasia, ele é uma ideia. Então, para mim, ele tem mais uma coisa mais sobrenatural do que real nesse ponto. Assim, para mim, ele vai mais pro sobrenatural. É um cara que finge o sobrenatural.
Tem um teatral nele, né?
Ele tem o teatral, ele é
A
teatral.
fumaça,
E ele tem aquela coisa meio louca, né? Entre... Então, quando eu tive a chance de trabalhar, tanto que quando... por isso que eu gosto muito da silhueta e de tudo, porque para mim eu sempre levei mais para a parte sobrenatural, para a parte mais terror da coisa do que ou detetive ou super-herói, né? Porque eu trabalhei, acho que com Batman nos meus últimos anos de DC. Né? Eu tinha trabalhado com ele na Liga da Justiça, que para mim é uma abordagem totalmente diferente. Eu encaro o personagem tendo que funcionar num time. Só que quando você pega a revista, o título, Batman, parece que tudo muda. Uma chavinha na cabeça, fala, agora sim você vai desenhar o Batman. Desenhar o Batman na Liga da Justiça é legal. Desenhar o Batman na sua própria revista é uma mudança de status. Né? E você fala, não, agora eu tenho essa visão. E no meu caso sempre foi essa parte mais sobrenatural da coisa. Assim. Eu gosto do teatral dele, na verdade.
Even
my answer is cheap. I like all of them. Like it is and one of the benefits of, I like writing the character over 10 years is I feel like I was able to, there's a story that like, there are the stories that tap into that supernatural, like even if it's just it's a internal supernatural, like a larger than life, like horror quality. There are the stories that do cast him in the middle of like superhero action and all of this stuff. And then there are like the grounded street stories are the ones that I think hit me the most emotionally. But they are each of them speak to a different aspect of the character, and they all feel authentic to me. And I think that shows how good an idea Batman is. And it's just the joy in seeing how flexible the character is. And how far you can take it without breaking that core.
Parece que ele é capaz de funcionar em qualquer mídia e linguagem.
Eu diria que ele inclusive já foi testado em qualquer mídia e linguagem também.
Speaking of good ideas, maybe we'll get to see the Court of Owls on the next Batman movie.
I mean, I would love that.
What is the piece of concept, idea, or story that this movie shouldn't miss? What's important to have in a story about owls?
I think that, and like the Court of Owls are Scott's baby. I've had a chance to, put my own mark on some of the aspects of building out that world, but it is Scott and Greg built this beautiful iconography of the owl mask and then the Talon design that, it was immediately this durable part of the mythos. Because it was attacking Bruce on the sense that, it's a story that comes, I think, it needs to come later in Batman's mythology because it's about, he thinks he knows the city, like inside and out. And then he finds out that something that he thought was just a fairy tale, like something that was just an urban legend that he had written off, he had done research into, and it was just like, this doesn't exist. Then he finds out that it's real and it's after him. Like after he is like already grown up and become Batman. It's the idea that Gotham City can still challenge you and can still surprise you no matter how well you think you know it, because Gotham is a city that is constantly it is always sharpening Batman. Because I mean Gotham is a fictional concept. Gotham is the vehicle by which you put Batman through a gauntlet, and it is and that's me echoing things that Scott has said before. That's not my original thought, but it is. I do think that that's the core of a really good Court of Owls story.
Yeah, James talked earlier about having Tim Drake as someone that he connected, and one thing that I think it's the most fantastic, like fictitious about Batman is that he can do it alone. That he by himself can do everything. He can build his car and do everything alone. But that's not true, because Batman had his parents killed. He shut down, but actually he didn't, because he's got Robin, he's got Batwoman. Even his foes are sort of like an extended part. We can see that as an extended part of his family. So we see him as this guy that closes himself up, but he's like, at the same time, he connects with all these people. So when we talk about Batman and about 85 years of Batman, we are talking about his family. So I want to know, what do you guys think about? Who's your favorite, maybe?
And I think that the important thing to remember is that 85 years of Batman means 83 years of Robin. Robin is an idea that is almost as old as Batman himself. It was, I think, 38 and 40. It was it is just like, that is how durable the Batman and Robin concept has been through that time, because I do think it speaks to that core essence of the character. It's the fact that he lost his family, and the idea of being able to build a family is like so core to that concept, and down to the fact that he's not very good at it, and he's like struggles with it, and because it feels like family. It's like it, you know, the difficulties he has with each of the Robins, and the ways in which he has failed as a mentor figure, and the ways in which he's succeeded. It makes the character human, and you can tell incredible stories with a solo Batman, but even those stories, you kind of need Alfred. Like, you need the person that's bouncing off of Bruce.
And
I just wanted to come back to the idea, we just talked about Gotham, because you guys, John said you like the detective grounded work a little bit more, Ivan's more the fantastical. How does that approach how does that affect your approach to like drawing Gotham? Because I feel like drawing Gotham is as much a part of your work on Batman as drawing the character himself.
Yeah, it's like New York City and the Marvel characters. It's intrinsic to the stories. Same with Gotham, only when I began to draw the city, I had to distinguish it from New York City. They had to have more spires, more of that international look. And it became the vital part of the character, just like any other characters have to have that background.
And how do you separate Gotham from like New York, in the drawing actually?
Yes, there are a few images of the spires and the cathedrals-shaped buildings instead of the square, truncated image of New York. Cynically, I said Gotham and Metropolis are New York City, and always wondered why the DC company didn't use New York, and then they managed to distinguish it. Although Metropolis, not so much. Gotham is distinguished from New York, and that became part of it. And then the character itself, with the spiky suit and the spiky head, it became a coalition.
I think that's important to remember what Gotham looks like in this Gothic kind of environment, because we got to see Gotham in the movies as Pittsburgh and Chicago, and all that. So the city is important, and also the villains are very important. Yeah. And this year was really interesting because we got to see 2 stories of Batman without Bruce Wayne, which is the second Joker movie, and also Penguin, the TV series. Have you seen this? Do you like it, the movie and the series?
I haven't seen Joker yet. I've seen Penguin, and I've really been enjoying that. It is just it's going after like a pure crime story in Gotham, which is really fun. And like Colin Farrell's chewing on all the scenery. It's great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's always fascinating to see when you take these characters away from like the core of like Batman. I do think in the first Joker movie, it's funny, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but it's like they did a lot of talking about how it's not actually about Batman, but there is a thread that does Batman is still intrinsic to the setup of the character, even though it's not Batman. It's it's more Bruce, but there is still a thread there that is. He does need to be the opposite of something, and that something is Batman. And it's just like, so even if you're reinterpreting that, it's always fascinating to me the way in which, when you tell a Batman story, even without Batman, you feel the presence of Batman.
E eu tô no meio da série ainda do Pinguim, mas é legal imaginar que Gotham é o personagem, né? É indiferente de ter Batman, Pinguim, qualquer um lá. Gotham por si só, assim como o Metrópole, elas são personagens. E eu tenho um gosto particular, assim. Quando eu vou, por exemplo, abordar Gotham ou Metrópole, eu não tomo como referência nenhuma cidade. Eu evito, para mim, ela não é Nova York. E assim como não é o lado escuro de Nova York, como pode ter sido, mas a forma como eu encaro, ela é única. Ela se tornou alguma coisa, ela ganhou o direito de não ser um espelho de uma cidade que existe, né? E quando você parte desse princípio, ela se torna o que você imaginar, o que você quiser, o que ela precisa ser para uma história, né? Você pode abordar qualquer elemento, você pode construir qualquer elemento. Então, quando você não estabelece uma realidade, uma referência externa,
Você ganha liberdade para transformar aquilo numa referência, né?
você ganha a liberdade de transformar a própria cidade na referência, né? Então eu sempre pensei, por isso que eu gosto tanto, novamente, não tem como, é a minha referência, dos filmes do Tim Burton. Gotham é Gotham, ela não é referência de nenhuma outra cidade, ela é um conto, ela é o que ela é e ela se torna o que precisa ser para a história. E eu assisti o Coringa, não assisti o 2 ainda, mas eu acho legal quando eles abordam também esse lado, onde, mesmo sendo criminal, sendo uma história de crime, você vê coisas que, na verdade, ela começa a ter coisas que você não tem referência. Parece alguma coisa, mas ela é única, né? Mesmo no Pinguim, existem lugares na cidade assim que até lembram alguma coisa real, mas não é único. São estruturas únicas, viadutos únicos, coisa de trem que não existe na realidade. Então, Gotham foi ganhando o direito de ser Gotham, não um espelho de alguma. Então, cada artista que toca, cada diretor de cinema que toca naquilo, se sente no direito até de pôr a sua própria parte, de dar a sua contribuição naquele Lego que a cidade foi se tornando, naquele quebra-cabeça de elementos e que ela foi se tornando. E eu penso que o mesmo aconteceu com Metrópole, né? Só que por um outro lado, um lado mais futurista, mais bonito, mais perfeito. Mas essa é como eu vejo, assim, é isso que eu gosto da série. Por mais que pareça uma cidade real, você começa a ver os elementos naquela cidade que não tem
Comparativo,
relação,
né?
não tem comparativo.
I want to ask this to Leo because I work with Marcelo, so I know what Marcelo thinks about this stuff. What are you thinking about Penguin and Joker? What did you think?
Oh, I loved it.
Both of them.
No, Joker, I didn't see the second one. I didn't see the second one. Only the Penguin. But I love the fact that it's Sopranos in the superhero universe. So
John, you're laughing.
yeah. Do you think that too, Johnny?
Very much
Yeah.
so. I haven't
Yeah.
seen enough, but I understand what you're saying, and that's
Yeah,
a great look at it. I agree.
Yeah, the relationship, he has all that relationship with his mother, and just as the Batman, it's Seven
Listen,
in the superhero universe.
I hate to be the least experienced person on this panel with the character, but I am. And I can only think of it in visual. And even with the films that I have seen, I don't think a ray of sunlight can ever appear in any of the films or in the comic book. The character is a dark, film noir, deep, moody character. And he should have his face mangled in the fights that he's been in because he's not a superpowered man. And I all think of it as a dark, dark image. I don't know if that's what everybody's trying to accomplish, but because of the mood of the characters since time immemorial, it should be done at night forever and ever. And I love every image of it that way in film noir. I've loved film noir.
It's funny that you said this thing about film noir, because I don't know if you agree with this, but it seems that the Tim Burton movie is kind of reacting to the TV series, which was really colorful and musical, really swinging 60s. What's the importance of this TV series to set this tone of Frank Miller comics and Tim Burton movies? It seems like the opposite, I think.
Yeah, I think that, like I would run into this a little bit with, some of the people in DC editorials that if they grew up in the age that the Adam West Batman was the Batman that they grew up with, but they loved the comic version of the character, like particularly like the Neil Adams stuff, like that was like they were like, Batman can be cool. Like Robin isn't this campy character, and they hated that people thought that Batman was this campy character and more cartoonish, and so they would get afraid, I think, sometimes when it's just like, yeah, no, like the dark side of the character is very, very important, but you can have a little bit of fun with him too. And sometimes they'd be like, no, this is too colorful. This is like, but there's a way to do color in Gotham, because I mean, you also have like the Joker, who's the most colorful character in the world. Robin is a colorful character. It is dark and light, and it can all function in the same space. So it is like, there was, I do think, a reaction to the camp of the 1960s series, but they're all part of one like big vision of the character.
And Marcelo, go.
All right, guys. This is really amazing. It's great having you here. James, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to come back. We have Cabral here. Ele tá desenhando, acabando de desenhar aqui. Ele foi convidado.
I hope my nose is crooked.
And we have this smoke here. This seems all Batman-y. This is great. Cabral está acabando de desenhar aqui. Você já terminou?
Terminando. Temos ainda? Não?
Pode mostrar. Vamos mostrar
It's a
aqui
work
como é
in
que ficou.
progress.
Olha aí, ó. A gente tem aqui uma versão, então, do Batman e Robin. Tem que ter o Robin.
Tem que ter, né?
Fantastic.
James just said that
Gotham.
there can't be a Batman without a Robin, so he's doing both here.
There we go.
Fantastic.
E Gotham tá ali também, né?
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yes,
Valeu,
you can
galera.
have them, yes.
Muito bem. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Muito obrigado.
Vamos ver o que tá
Valeu,
rolando nessa
galera.
CCXP. E aí, galera? Roda o VT.
Muito obrigado.
Fala, rapaziada do Palco Omelete, a gente tá aqui no